Fall is for fashion girls. I don't make the rules. That's just how it is. And every year I tell myself that I'm going to be one. The problem is that I don't own the clothing necessary to actually recreate my inspo photos. So I end up wearing sweatpants instead and rotting for an entire season. But this year is different because I can sew now, and I'm not gonna let my inspiration just collect dust and die on a Pinterest board. We're actually going to bring it to life so that I can finally be that girl. This video is sponsored by SquareSpace. Let's get into it. Before we get started, I'm going to tell you what the plan is using my Notion mood board. I plan every single project on this. This is free, by the way. People always ask. Milanote is also one that you could use. That one's also free. They're very similar. Milanote I tend to use more for interior design business stuff, and then my Notion is more personal. We're doing projects 5 and 6 today. Look, fall fashion seems to be heavily rely on good shoes and good bags. And I'm not a shoe girl or a bag girl, and so I really just need to up my game in those categories. Every it girl on Pinterest seems to own an Hermès Kelly bag, and here's the problem for me is that they're 30 grand, and I'm not spending 30 grand on a bag. So we're gonna make one, like I said. And to do this, because I know this sounds crazy and ambitious, we are gonna use a kit. I discovered this company called Babylon Leather, and basically what they do is they pre-cut all of the pieces and they send you all of the tools, the thread, the needles, all the hardware that you need, and you sew the bag together. They are not paying me. This is not sponsored, though they did gift me a kit to try. I'm not financially obligated to tell you anything about this bag, so if I hate it, I'll let you know. But if you're seeing this, it probably came out good. They did kindly give me a coupon code for any of you guys who would like to try it. I'll put it in the description box. It's code Becca10. So yeah, they have, particularly I was interested in the Birkin bag, and they also have the Kelly bag, which is the one I'm choosing. I'm doing the black one with gold hardware, and let's get into it. Very excited about the potential for this kit and this project, but I've been so nervous to start because I don't want to mess it up, and I've never worked with leather before, and I also very rarely hand sew things. I avoid it as much as possible because the few times that I have, my stitches were like atrocious. So yeah, I just don't want to like mess this kit up. That said, this kit does seem like as foolproof as something like this could be. I kind of rummaged through this already, but I do want to show you what it all comes with. You get this brochure on the back. It has a QR code that'll bring you to the video tutorial. These little satin scarves that you can tie around the handles once you finish your bag, and then you get all the tools that you would need. So little clippers, some extra needles, thread, a screwdriver for some reason, and then these little like finger condoms. I'm not totally sure what these are for. And then all the leather pieces are pre-cut for you, and they have holes punched on the edges for your stitches. So I'm hoping that these guide the what's the word, distance between my stitches, so hopefully they look uniform, even though I'm not good at hand sewing. That said, I did get matching thread because you can choose between contrasting or matching thread on the website. I feel like matching is the way to go if you're nervous about your stitches, because hopefully they will blend in a little bit better with matching thread. I do want to be super honest about this kit, and one thing is that it does have like what I would say is kind of a weird smell. It doesn't have that musky leather scent. It's kind of chemically, weirdly. The website does say it's top grain, genuine leather. I wouldn't know either way. I don't know much about leather, but yeah, I'm hoping this smell sort of dies off as it's out of the package and it can sort of air out, because yeah, I don't like how it smells at the moment. Anyway, that's enough chit chat. I got the tutorial pulled up and we're just gonna get started. Oh, I wanna I want to time myself. So they say it takes about 5 to 7 hours to complete each kit, kind of depending on the size and everything. I'm anticipating that it's going to take me longer than that just because I'm a slow sewer in general. It is 3:11 right now, so I will keep you updated on how long this takes me. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so this is already different to me. We're sewing with 2 needles, 1 piece of thread and a needle attached to each end. Which again, that's new for me, but I'm just gonna follow the tutorial exactly as it's laid out. Wait, back up. I can figure this out. Definitely took a minute for me to get used to working with 2 needles at once, but once I got the hang of it, I actually found it to be very calming and almost therapeutic. I do recommend using these rubber fingertip covers finger condoms. I think they really help give you extra grip, and that way you're not pushing so hard on your fingertips. I think they look pretty good, actually. I wish I had done my first few a little bit tighter so that the stitches would be a little bit cleaner, but overall, I think this looks good. It is now 5:07, so moving pretty slow. There was a puppy potty break in there though, so subtract about 20 minutes, but yeah, I have been pretty much only doing this for the last 2 hours. I knew I'd be kind of slow at this, but that's okay. I will say that this tutorial totally gets you there, but no one's talking you through the steps. It's just somebody doing it sped up slightly, which doesn't help. And then there's subtitles for instructions, which aren't super clear. So, not an A plus on the tutorial, but like I said, it gets you there. Like I'm figuring it out fine. Maybe watch the tutorial. If you're thinking about this, watch the tutorial first and make sure that it's clear enough to you before purchasing. I don't know. Just something to keep in mind. I can't believe it took me almost 2 hours to sew 12 of these little holes. Okay, what am I doing? Let me check the tutorial. I'm just gonna keep trucking along. I moved on to stitching the pocket detail, I think that's what this is, and I found this little clip to be very helpful to keep the 2 layers together as I sewed. And then I moved on to this bottom bit, which was by far the hardest part so far. It's hard to work with such a big piece, and I found it really difficult to keep this bottom piece aligned as I sewed. I even broke a needle and stabbed my finger. And now being 4 hours into this, 3.5 really, because I took a dinner break and I played with Theo for a bit. I realized that I actually sewed this part to the wrong side. This is not supposed to be on the outside of the bag, it's supposed to be on the inside. And I did an entire row of stitching and a few on the other side before I realized. So I do have to take that apart, which kind of sucks. The instructions were clear enough had I like taken a second, but it wasn't super clear. You kind of have to slow down with these instructions because again, it's just subtitles and the subtitles kind of have some typos in them. I'm going to try to take this off and put it on the inside, but it is getting late, so we're gonna call it a day and revisit this tomorrow and we'll just add our times together. This video is sponsored by SquareSpace, an all-in-one platform for building your online presence. SquareSpace takes care of all of the complicated aspects of building a website so that you can focus on growing your brand. SquareSpace has an entire library of professionally designed, award-winning templates that are easily customizable with simple drag-and-drop editing. It could not get simpler. You can change color, font, layout so that your website really fits your brand, without needing a background in web design. When I say all-in-one platform, I really mean that. They offer email campaigning, invoicing, and they even have a member section so that you can grow your community, which is something that I am looking into for you guys. So if you're anything like me and you'd rather spend your time creating instead of coding, go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/𝗗𝗏𝗏𝗏 for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back into it. I got a head start this morning on stitching the remaining individual pieces. Now that I have the hang of doing these stitches, I'm really enjoying this process, especially the fact that I don't have to do it in my sewing room. Like, I can take it wherever. It's just a very relaxing project so far. I then moved on to attaching the handle, which so far has been the most challenging because in one area there's actually 3 layers of leather that you have to sew through, and I just had a hard time getting it aligned. And I don't think I did my stitches quite tight enough because the 2 pieces are sort of separating a little bit at the corner. So if you do end up doing this kit, I really recommend that you pull your thread as tight as possible after every single stitch. But now that we're mostly prepped with all of the individual pieces, I think the next step is to actually start assembling, and hopefully this is going to start looking like a purse. So I think that these are the side pieces, and it'll end up being like that, and this is sewn to the side, I think. I don't know. I'm going to take a look at the tutorial and get stitching. I am doing stopwatch method today because I have some calls and things throughout the day, but so far I have spent 2 hours and 49 minutes stitching all of these pieces. It's been enjoyable, it's been very relaxing, but yeah, this is definitely a time commitment. But like I said, it's a fun project. All the prep work is really done for me, so there's not a lot of thinking involved. It's just like repetitive, relaxing. I love it so far. So I'm gonna take a look at the tutorial and we're gonna start assembling this very cute bag. It's starting to look like a bag, kinda. How exciting. Okay, let's see. One thing that is helpful about this tutorial is it tells you how much thread to use for each portion, which I find helpful because then I'm never running out of thread. They are kind of generous with the amount of thread that you need, so I am ending up with like little scraps like this. But yeah, I find that particular instruction to be pretty helpful so that I'm not just guessing and wasting or running out. The other thing that I realized that I think this person is doing that I wasn't doing is you really just need 1 knot for the thread at the needle instead of, don't double knot it because it just creates too much bulk because this thread is like waxy and it makes it really hard to pull it through the holes. So it does hold up with just a single knot, and if it does come undone, you can just retie it. It's not a big deal. So that has been helpful too in just like sparing my fingertips because it does take a lot of strength and effort when there's a double knot on the end of the needle. So anyway, let's see. We are starting from this side. We should swing. Last stitch complete on this bag. We are officially done sewing it up. All that's left to do is to attach the hardware. It has been 5 hours and 58 minutes working on this today, plus the 3.5, 4 hours from yesterday. So about 10 hours to sew this bag up, which I honestly don't feel like is terrible considering you're making a leather bag. Like, that's pretty good, actually. Update on the smell. The smell has gotten a lot better. I think just being out in the air, it sort of died down a bit. It's still there, but I think with a couple days it'll dissipate. We just gotta put the hardware on, which I think, yeah, these are just the little feet that screw in right here to keep it raised. And then I watched through to the end of the tutorial and I'm left with this mystery bag of something. And I don't know what these are for actually. But she didn't use it in her construction, so I'm feeling like I'm okay. Maybe that was just a mistake. Let's get this hardware put on because I want to wear this for date night tonight. There we go. Okay, I think we're done. I'm so delighted by this. Look how cute it is. Something about there being a little key with a lock, it just makes me feel like I'm 8 years old and I have a lock on my diary. I think it's so fun. Maybe not super practical, but luxury is rarely practical. I'm so excited to like add this to my collection. This is just, I stitched every single stitch on this and it makes me feel very proud. Now obviously you know what this looks like, but I do think it would be fun to style it up with an outfit. So let's do that, I guess. I can't tell you how obsessed I am with this bag. I'm wearing it constantly, even when it's probably not necessarily appropriate to be carrying around a, Kelly bag, but I just love it so much. And it's not even the fact that it's a designer dupe, because I'm really not a name brand person. I don't super care about that stuff. It's the fact that I painstakingly stitched every single stitch by hand and it came out looking this good. Like, I'm so proud of this bag, and it wasn't that hard to do, which is crazy. My fiance also really likes it, which is always cute. Who likes my top? I'm filming reveal shots for this. This is kind of a spoiler, I guess, because this will be coming out in my next video, and it's not perfect, and it's too small, and I messed up the buttons, but I still really like it, and I just couldn't help myself. I felt like the vibes really matched. I feel classy. I feel this will be, sorry, I'm getting distracted. This will be linked, obviously. And so will my code. I can't remember what the code is, but I'll put it on the screen. This is the code. Okay, next project. Project 6, I'm so excited about. This particular outfit, I just love so much because it looks put together, but it still looks so cozy. I really want one of these front tie cardigans. This one particularly is from White Fox, I believe, and it's not that expensive. It's like 70 bucks, but it's like 100% acrylic, I believe, and I don't know if I'm just getting old or something, but I'm starting to really care about the fiber contents of my clothing, and I figured I may as well just put that money towards really nice fabric and make it myself. So I found a fuzzy knit wool, and that's what we're going to be working with. I bought it online and it's not that stretchy and it's kind of stiff, so I'm a little nervous about that, but I already bought it, so we'll see. I'm using the Tilly Top pattern by Sew with Annie. I did do a mock-up of this, so I do know that although this pattern is not made for knits, it's made for wovens, that it does work on knit. I'll show you. This is what the mock-up looks like. I didn't finish it, obviously. I was just sort of testing the fit and seeing if my idea would work, and it did. I've never worked with wool before. I'm so scared, but I did do some research and I got some tips on working with wool knit. And we're just gonna go for it. I'm really terrified to cut into this fabric. It's definitely one of the more expensive fabrics, if not the most expensive fabric I've ever purchased. And I'm also not totally sure that this is gonna work for this project. I did do kind of a mock-up, but it really was not the same stretch. It wasn't an equivalent material, so at least I know that the sizing works for me, but I just don't know how this fabric is gonna behave. And I bought it online, so I couldn't really feel it, which is always kind of a bummer, but something we just need to get used to now that Joanne is gone. This is a blend, and Mood didn't give the exact breakdown of the percentages, but because it's a blend, I was feeling like it could possibly be washed, and I did a little 3x3 swatch, and I tossed it in a cold, delicate cycle. And there was no felting, no shrinking, so I went ahead and threw the entire piece in there, and it's looking fine. I don't feel like that messed it up at all. One of the tips I learned from my research was that you should hover steam over the entire piece before cutting it out. Don't really know why, but we're gonna do it. I'm gonna take as many precautions as possible with this wool because I really want this to work out. So let's get started on this slow process of steaming this. It is folded in half just because my table isn't quite big enough, but I'll do both sides. Once I assembled the pieces, I tried it on and was a little disappointed with how it was laying and hanging from my body. It felt very boxy, so I bravely cut the sides and took it in a bit. And then now I'm measuring the edges because instead of doing facing like the pattern suggests, I am going to be doing banding. So I need to know how long I should cut the rectangle that I will be folding in half and sewing along all of the edges. Okay, so horrible news. I really hate how this looks. I particularly really regret that I just took the sides in. I didn't, I just cut it. I just cut it. I was so confident. I don't know what I was hopped up on a velo to be honest, but you should not do that. If you're gonna make an adjustment, do the seam first, try it on. If you like it, then you can trim. I just went for it. I don't know. I was feeling confident, I guess. Um, but yeah, the plan was to do something very oversized and drapey, boxy, cozy. And now that I've taken in the sides, especially because this fabric doesn't have much drape to it, it just looks like a jacket now, which was not the vibe. That was not what we were going for. It does also look like it's falling off my shoulder, but remember we have quite a bit of banding, and that'll obviously give me some more fabric here, and then the ties will keep it together like that, but yeah, I'm really disappointed. And I was so scared that I was gonna mess this up, and I just did that silly mistake. So I'm gonna put the banding on, and maybe that will change my mind about this. But yeah, I just wanted to be super honest with you guys that this is I'm not feeling great about how this is looking so far. Luckily, these pieces are pretty big and boxy, so if I do want to pivot and turn it into something else, I feel like these pieces, I have a lot of fabric to work with versus, smaller fitted pieces would be tricky to turn into something else, but I don't know, guys. I'm gonna just put the banding on and yeah, we'll go from there, but I'm gonna put this bottom banding on first and then the banding that will replace the facing. On my mock-up, I did it in opposite. Actually, I have it right here. So on this one, you can see I did this banding and it stops right here, but then this seam kind of pokes out. So to switch that, I'm gonna bring this banding all the way down and then hopefully that'll hide that kind of ugly seam. Or, I mean, it'll just relocate it so that it's towards the bottom and it's less obvious. I don't know, I'm feeling discouraged, but I just wanted to be honest about that. We're gonna keep moving, and we'll see if our minds change. I think it's safe to say that this did not work. And I am sad, but I can't really say that I'm surprised because all of the issues that I came across with this one, I actually did foresee. It's not that stretchy and it's kind of stiff. I'm not totally sure that this is gonna work for this project before even cutting into the fabric. From this wool not being as stretchy as the knit to knowing that it did not have a similar drape to my mock-up fabric, into the shape of the banding I did not mention explicitly in the video, but I was nervous about. I think that doing a long rectangle and folding it over works really well for knit because it sort of just molds to the shape of whatever seam you're attaching it to, versus this kind of sticks up because it has its own structure to it, and really I should have mirrored this shape and cut it out more like facing than just doing a straight rectangle. I feel like the people who are more experienced than I am saw this coming and was like, girl, this is not gonna work. Here we are. I tend to learn from trial and error and making mistakes, and hopefully I do not make this mistake again. I'm trying not to dwell on the fact that I wasted this wool fabric. If you have ideas on what we could possibly turn this into, let me know. I feel like a jacket would be the first idea, but these shoulder seams, after I trimmed it, are a bit too narrow, I think, to turn it into a jacket. Perhaps a vest, though I'm not really a vest girl. Maybe a mini skirt? Do people do wool skirts? I don't know. I've gotten pretty comfortable with putting my failures on the internet for all to see, which is something I was very scared of when I first started my channel, but the sewing community in particular is just so encouraging and kind and helpful. You guys always teach me something, so this feels like a safe space. But yeah, let me know what I should do with this wool now. It's a little itchy, actually. So I actually, having it on, don't even know if I would have worn this very much, even if my idea had worked. But anyway, thank you for hanging out with me. Don't forget to check out SquareSpace. I will have them linked in the description box below. And I'll see you next time in my next video.